Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto Was Adopted in a Good Home, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. I'm gonna what? Naruto blurted. You will marry Temari to seal the treaty. In order to keep the agreement as fair as possible, Suna will be giving up one of their chunin. So Temari got promoted. Good for her, Naruto said sourly, Gaara's news rocking him like a heavy dose of poison. Yes, Kankuro was also granted chunin rank. Traditionally, the children of the cage or other prominent ninja are the only ones used in treaty agreements like this. Temari was the logical choice from Suna. So why was I chosen? Naruto asked bitterly. I would not allow Temari to be wed to anyone else, Gaara said plainly, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. She would likely be abused if she were to marry another from your village, in some petty attempt at revenge. I know you would not do that. Also, you are strong enough to protect her, should she need it. But, the council pretty much hates me, Naruto said. I've got a few people who support me, but most of them want me. Yes. How'd you get him to agree to have Temari marry me instead of some rich clan head? I vowed to crush each one who opposed me on this matter. Naruto gave a considering grunt. That would probably work, but I don't really want to marry Temari. I'm with Haku right now. Actually, Naruto, Shikamaru interrupted hesitantly. You don't really have much of a choice. Naruto and the females in the room glared at him, but the Nara didn't back down, knowing what he had to say was important. The last thing anyone needed was Naruto creating an international incident because he was stubborn. Look, marriages are usually considered matters handled by the clan, and not something influenced by the Hokage. But marriages have been a way of cementing alliances for as long as the villages have existed. And in that case, the Hokage does have the right to order you to get married, even if it is against your wishes. You could refuse, but then you would be guilty of disobeying direct orders from the Hokage, and that means you'll be either executed, given your popularity, or you could flee and be marked as a missing nin. Naruto cursed. Kyuubi took the moment to speak up from inside his mind. Deal with it, Kit, people are always going to tell you what to do. At least until you can prove your strength, get used to it. And considering you're being told that you're being given an attractive female, I wouldn't complain. So you think she's attractive? I wouldn't think you would lower yourself to look at human females. Naruto winced as Kyuubi gave him the mental equivalent of a punch to the ribs. I've been in prison for more than a decade. The prospect of getting any kind of action is exciting. Naruto didn't argue. He knew that was an argument he couldn't win. He wasn't even sure he wanted to. So I'm just supposed to lie down and take it. I never thought I'd hear that kind of advice from you. There's a time to fight, and a time for negotiation. And considering you aren't the leader here, take your orders until you are. So what's going to happen if I go along with this? Naruto asked. Are you really going to do this? Haku asked anxiously. Not like I have much of a choice, is it? He grumbled. If it puts you at any ease, Temari is not pleased with the situation either, Gaara informed. What? Why wouldn't she want to marry Naruto-kun? Ino shrieked. Tenten and Haku immediately agreed, even if they didn't like the topic. I didn't inquire. Baki advised against it when he saw how much destruction she was causing. Well, where is she? Naruto asked. If we don't have any choice, we might as well get to know each other. She is in Sunagakure at the moment. Once your injuries are fully healed, Temari's arrangements there should be finished. At that point, you two will be married. So I really don't have any choice about this. Or any say in anything. No. Gaara's voice was as flat and unemotional as ever. Everyone's eyes bounced back and forth as Gaara and Naruto argued about the marriage for the next half hour. They were actually surprised it didn't last longer. Naruto's stubbornness was legendary, but Gaara proved nearly impossible to argue with, even to someone used to Shino and his unrelenting logic. Naruto ended with agreeing to the marriage, but he promised that he wouldn't give up and was going to look for any way out of the coupling. This made Haku beam, even as her heart was breaking, as she knew there wasn't any way out of it that Naruto could exploit. As Gaara made his way to leave, Naruto stopped him. Hey, you told me that Temari and Kankuro were promoted, but you never said anything about how you did. Gaara was silent for a beat. The judges did not believe my fight was impressive enough to merit promotion to Chunin. Naruto looked uncomfortable. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. Gaara continued. However, the Suna Council has decided that I will be granted the title of Kazekage in 3 months. Naruto's jaw dropped. Why'd you do it, old man? Naruto demanded the next time the Sandaime Hokage visited him. Why'd you let them force me into marriage? Sarutobi's eyes flashed, and for an instant, Naruto was terrified of the man who treated him like family since childhood. Naruto, I am your Hokage, and as such I do not appreciate you questioning my decisions. If you were someone else, I might have you jailed for speaking to me as you did. You are now a Chunin of Konoha, so act like it. There was a grave silence before Naruto spoke up. Sorry, Hokage-sama. Naruto-kun, I'm still the same person who took you for your first bowl of ramen, and you were too scared to try it. However, you have changed, so that makes a difference in how I will treat you. Understand. Now, there are several reasons why I chose you. First, you were requested by Gaara. I would prefer to have our new relationship with Suna start off on an agreement, not a rejection. Second, you were one of the few ninja prominent enough to be considered for this even remotely close to Temari's age. Third, you would not hold it against Temari that she comes from a village that just attacked us. Fourth, I decided to have you do it instead of pushing for someone else because I've stuck my N out enough lately, and I needed something to go nice and smooth. Naruto squinted. Doesn't the council really not like me? Wouldn't having me be the sacrificial lamb be something that they would oppose? Before the invasion, likely. But as we were just attacked, I was able to seize a large portion of my power back from the council. Though it is not being technically declared, we are at war with Oto. During wartime, the Hokage can take a great deal more control than he would have if we were at peace. We live in a ninja village that's hated by most of our surrounding neighbors. Aren't we always at war? If you want to be a pessimist, you could see it that way. If any of our ninja were found in by an Iwa patrol in Earth Country, they would likely be killed after a long tea session. But since the majority of our time is spent without constant conflict, we consider ourselves at peace. It's less stressful. I see. As I was saying, I now have more direct power than I would normally, so I can use that power to push things through. Additionally, my opposition knows that they need me to lead Konoha for now, at least until Konoha is rebuilt. It does not do to change horse midstream. And my largest opposition is now he didn't add. Really Naruto, this is almost a blessing. At least you don't have to worry about the right way to propose. And Temari-san is not exactly unattractive. I failed to see the problem. I was already dating Haku-chan. Naruto burst. Sarutobi's eyes widened ever so slightly. Well, that could be a problem. Especially if Tsunade has taught Haku her special strength technique. Haku-chan doesn't have it mastered, but she's pretty good with it. She destroyed my chair the other day. Sarutobi nodded thoughtfully. That does sound like a dilemma. Well, good luck figuring it out. I just wouldn't ask Jiraiya for advice. It may end up painful for you. Sarutobi was out of the room before Naruto even realized what had happened. He would have been more upset, but it wasn't often Naruto was successfully pranked. It was 3 weeks before Naruto was fit enough for missions again. Even so, he wasn't anywhere near his level before the finals. Too much time had passed without training. And it didn't help that Jiraiya had forbidden him from activating his gravity seal at any level higher than 1.5 normal gravity. He was sure it was just a fluke that he had collapsed when he had tried to put it back to where it was before his coma. At least Tsunade's preparations were taking longer than expected, and Naruto hadn't had to marry Temari yet. It wasn't that he didn't like her, she seemed nice enough, but he'd much rather be with Haku. But the second Naruto was judged mission-worthy, he was assigned to his new team. Despite being Jiraiya's apprentice, the village needed Chunin more. Fortunately, his team consisted of people he knew. Shikamaru and Shino. They knew about his tenant and didn't care, which was a benefit that wasn't guaranteed if he worked with a different team, and they were already comfortable with each other, something new Chunin squads usually had to work to accomplish, provided they weren't the same teams the members had been as Genin. That was how Naruto found him to be in his current situation. Quietly evading guards as they tried to escape from a minor daimyo's mansion without raising attention. They had been assigned a B rank assassination. A higher rank than was usually given to new Chunin, but the village was understaffed and desperate. They were supposed to get rid of a T country official, as well as empty his coffers. Shino and Shikamaru were taking care of the assassination, and Naruto was tasked with storing the money and valuables in scrolls. Not the easiest mission with only a three-man squad, but the Sandaime had obviously felt they were up to it. Much to their surprise, they were. Getting in was easy, their passage blocked only by a few guards that were quickly circumvented or strangled by shadows, hiding them carefully as they went. Naruto split off from Shikamaru and Shino halfway through the mansion, and made his way to the vault. Shino and Shikamaru quickly dispatched the target and his personal guard without raising the alarm. Naruto stealthily s the trip of the guards at the vault, and cracked it with an earth-type seal that melted the door completely. He created a trio of clones and emptied the large vault as quickly as possible. Sadly, it contained more than anticipated, and it took longer than he had allowed. As he left to meet up with his teammates, Naruto met the next shift's guards. Two hastily summoned frogs restrained them before they could raise the alarm. Naruto quickly killed them before leaving without running across anyone else. After meeting up outside the mansion, the trio traveled for almost 2 hours before setting up camp, Konoha still being nearly 2 days' travel away. Once a security perimeter of Naruto clones was set up, Shino quickly fixed a small dinner from a young wild boar Shikamaru had run across. This is really good, Shino, Naruto complimented after his friend served the boar. Yes, it's surprisingly well prepared, Shikamaru added. Where'd you learn to cook like this? Shino swallowed the mouthful of boar he was occupied with before answering. I've always had a talent in the culinary arts, and I became the team cook when we became genin. Really? Shikamaru raised a lazy eyebrow. Shino nodded. Kiba is unable to prepare anything more complicated than Akamaru's dog food, and while Hinata's medicinal creams are surprisingly effective, her cooking SKS leaves something to be desired. Naruto's head snapped over to the side, suddenly alert. What was that? Shino peered at his friend queerly. What are you talking about? There's nothing around us except for there's a rabbit 50 yards to the west, along with your clones. Naruto shook his head, squinting into the trees. No, someone's out there. I know it. Naruto, if someone were watching us, my sentries would have detected them. I have ordered them to report anyone who enters the vicinity. Could someone get past them without detection? Shikamaru asked. Shino narrowed his eyes. No, but if they could, we would likely already be S. Naruto kept his eyes on the trees, looking for something his teammates and senses said wasn't there. But something was tugging on the back of his mind, he knew there was something watching them. Another hour passes and the feeling still hadn't gone away. If anything, the itch had grown stronger. Alright guys, there's something there, I know there is. Come out and face. Wham! Naruto grunted as he slammed into a tree. There was a fist-sized mark on his jaw, angry and red. Shino and Shikamaru were immediately on their feet, ready for a fight. Shikamaru was surrounded by a miasma of shadow, and the air around Shino was filled with an irate buzzing. I should have known a piece of filth like you would surround yourself with stains, a disembossed voice said. Who are you? Naruto demanded. The spot he was glaring at shimmered and coalesced into a muscular, rough-looking man in his 20s. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised you don't know who I am. Stupid Hanyu. That's a kitsune from one of the few splinter families still around. I recognize the smell. What are you talking about now? Every so often, someone would think they know how to run things better than I, and they would break off from the main clan. Usually I crushed them before they got very far, but a few have survived. I normally have a few of the stronger members tasked with hunting them down, but this one seems to have eluded them, until now. K him for me. Before he KS you. He doesn't seem to like you very much. Okay. I'd get going if I were you, Kyuubi remarked mildly as Naruto was sent flying again. You'll likely need to pull out all the stops. Shino, Shikamaru. This guy isn't what he looks like. Don't hold anything back. The kitsune snorted. I doubt you have anything in your arsenal that can harm me, but if you feel the need to entertain me before your deaths, I have a few minutes. Naruto gritted his teeth before shooting forward, launching into a taijutsu combination he had picked up from Zabuza. The normally fatal series of moves was blocked with terrifying ease, with speed on a level Naruto had never seen before, not even when training with Jiraiya or Tsunade. A brace of kunai flew over Naruto's head, sinking into the kitsune. His form wavered and disappeared, showing it had been nothing but an illusion. Shikamaru flew out of the trees, bruises already forming on his face. Shino leapt between the shadow user and the kitsune, engaging him in taijutsu while Shikamaru got back up. Naruto released his transformation, his tails blooming into existence behind him, whipping around irritably. The kitsune smirked as he backhanded Shino into another tree before turning his attention to Naruto. Then he disappeared. He didn't blur into motion, he didn't melt into the ground, he simply disappeared. It was one of the scariest things Naruto had ever seen. A fist slammed into Naruto's face, blackening his eye and splitting his lip. The kitsune laughed as he saw all his opponents lying on the ground, beaten. I can't believe this is the best you can do. Even if you are just a filthy Hanyu and 2 stains on the earth, I expected better than this. He walked over and kicked Naruto in the ribs. I really expected more from you. Even if you're a Hanyu, you are part fox. He sniffed the air. And it seems you come from serious power, he laughed. Too bad you'll never come into it. You'll be long before then. He bent down, and whispered into Naruto's ear, any last words? Yeah. Fuan, Kai. Naruto slammed a scroll into the kitsune's chest, and pushed away with all his might. An enormous amount of water exploded violently, slamming into the kitsune hunter with the force of a tsunami, battering him harshly as Naruto leapt away, allies in his arms. Naruto crouched on the limb of one of Fire Country's signature trees, Shikamaru and Shino lying across it. He formed 2 quick hand seals and performed an E-class Raiten jutsu to wake his friends up. Shikamaru hissed through his teeth as his eyes shot open. Troublesome technique, he muttered. Well, it'd be more troublesome if I hadn't woken you up. Somehow I doubt that technique is going to slow him down for too much longer. Shino looked at the ground, only to notice it was covered in several feet of rising water. Naruto, what technique did you use? He asked seriously. It's something Ero Sennin showed me. But I don't have another one of those things, so we've got to beat this guy quick, before he gets his bearings. Shikamaru nodded. I'll stick to the trees. There's enough shadows here that I should be able to catch him if you keep him distracted long enough. Shino, stick to hit and run tactics, try to keep him guessing. Naruto, hit him hard, and don't let up. Aarrrrrggh. I knew that wouldn't keep him down, Naruto groaned. You filthy thing Hanyu. You worthless piece of trash. I'll rend you limb from limb. I'll devour your entrails. You'll beg me for death before I'm done. Go. A horde of Naruto clones exploded from behind the tree, spreading out quickly, shouting and trying to attract as much attention as possible. The clones started tossing out low-level jutsu over and over, restricting movement and peppering the kitsune with shredding winds and swirling waters. The kitsune blurred around the clearing, tearing through Naruto's doppelgangers effortlessly. After spinning the head off the shoulders of yet another Naruto, he stilled. You're only delaying the inevitable. But please, continue with these simple replications. I had thought I would only be able to K you once, Hanyu, but with this technique, I, Kurisu of the Urisu branch, get to end you over and over. You like it, Naruto said. Kurisu dispersed that one in an instant, as another horde of clones appeared. Then maybe you'll, that one was Ked before it finished its speaking. Like this one. Another gone. Suten, Suryuden no Jutsu. At least 3 dozen voices called at once. Nearly 40 water dragons leapt from the water fully formed, lunging at the stunned kitsune. Moving at the last second, the first 3 dragons were dodged. The 4th dragon grazed his side, knocking him into the 5th. The dragons twisted around each other, creating an elaborate dance that pulverized Kurisu. One set him into a tree, pinning him there, until the combined force of the next 3 dragons snapped the tree trunk. After more than a full minute of carnage, the swirling waters collapsed, ripples the only indication that the surface had ever been disturbed. Kunai and shuriken began flying out of the trees. Even with what looked like a broken arm and near unconsciousness, Kurisu dodged all but one of the bladed weapons, gaining a puncture wound to the right leg. There was a brief lull in the battle before Kurizu seemed to swell with power, red Yuki manifesting around him, swirling slowly at first, building speed quickly. The trio of Chunin tried to attack with kunai once more, but the Yuki diverted the blades before they posed any kind of danger. The wave of energy grew in volume, swirling faster until it was a 12-foot nearly solid mass. Suddenly, the energy exploded outward, decimating everything in its path, leaving a barren crater nearly 40 feet across, and scarred trees for 100 more in every direction. Shino glared at Kurizu as the remains of his Mushikabe no Jutsu bled away, the Kikai returned to his body. He scowled as he realized only a third of the Kikai survived the attack. Moving closer for a better position, Shino assessed the damage caused. In addition to the depletion of his colonies, every inch of exposed skin, thankfully little, was covered in light burns, and his clothes were still smoking slightly. As he neared, the kitsune started to chuckle before growing to a crazed cackle. You actually, made me use that attack, Kurizu slurred. I can tell you survived, the energy from my attack now hangs around you like a cloak. I was going to KO you fairly slowly, but now your tea will last forever. Tales of your pain will be told throughout the ages. There was a blur of motion, and Naruto was pinned to a tree, Kurizu's hand clenched around his tea. You will be the first to scream. Suddenly, Kurizu tilted his head to the side, and a sobbing pain blossomed in Naruto's shoulder. Behind Kurizu, he could see Shino standing on a branch, his hand still extended from the throw. With a loud grunt, Naruto reached up and pulled the kunai from his shoulder, slashed Kurizu's tea, and pulled downward, opening a gash from shoulder to hip. Kurizu stumbled back, clutching his wounds, and the shadows came alive around him, sobbing into his hands and feet, pulling him spread-eagle to allow Naruto to tear Kurizu's tea out with his claws. Several pained gasps later, Kurizu collapsed, his weight supported only by Shikamaru's jutsu. There was a moment of tension before the group finally relaxed. They should have SD. But they survived anyway. For a long minute, no one spoke. They could only stare at their fallen enemy. We need to get back to Konoha, Shikamaru said quietly. Naruto shook his head. No, there's something I need to do. He smeared his hand with blood from his shoulder. Kuchio's no jutsu, he muttered. When the smoke cleared, the battle-scarred leader of the Kitsune Shutai, Daki, appeared. Naruto-sama, you are injured. Daki exclaimed. Who did this? I will rend the F from his bones. Naruto pointed tiredly at Kurizu. That was him. Kyubi said he was a traitor to the clan. I figured you would know the best way to dispose of him. Daki melted into the form of a distinguished middle-aged man in immaculate samurai armor as he approached Kurizu. Yes, he was a traitor. He deserved what you gave him. He was also my son. I am impressed you defeated him. I trained him well before he betrayed the clan, and he was naturally gifted as well. Sorry for your loss, Naruto said, feeling awkward. Daki shook his head. Kurizu made his choice. This is merely the consequence of that choice. He was still your son, Naruto shrugged. Yes. Daki's focus shifted. You too, come here. Shikamaru and Shino hesitated, but approached at Naruto's nod. Daki reached into a hidden pocket and removed 2 scrolls. I speak not for the rest of the clan, but should you ever need assistance, you will be able to call on the power of the Kitsune Shutai. All you need do is sign that contract in blood. Daki turned back to Naruto. Naruto-sama, do you require any further assistance? No, we just need to get back to Konoha. We'll be fine. Very well. Daki placed his hand on his deceased son's shoulder, and both disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto looked at his friends, their eyes still on the scrolls they had just received. Come on, put those away and let's get back to the village. That's nearly 40 hours of travel, Shino pointed out. None of us are in the best condition either. I've got soldier pills if you need them, but I want to get out of here. Hopefully we won't run into anyone else. Shino and Shikamaru nodded briefly and they all leapt off in the direction of Konoha. Yugao Shishu, there is a group approaching from the south, Sakura said, tensed and ready to strike. Good. Conceal yourself. Sakura melted from view, disappearing into a tree limb. 30 seconds later, Naruto's team stopped on the branch in front of her, burned, battered and bruised. Hold on, we're Leaf Nin, Shikamaru said, flashing discreet hand signals. All Konoha Nin were taught to the group he saw in front of him. Sakura knew it was an illusion, but she still couldn't see through the patrol squad her master was creating. Yugao appeared as her illusion faded, her eyes narrowed. Yes, you are. No one can imitate the chakra signal of the Aberrame. What happened? We ran into unexpected resistance after our mission was complete. Anything else will have to wait until we're debriefed by the Hokage. Yugao nodded. Very well. If you don't have any objections, I'll give you an escort back to Konoha. Hey, we can take care of ourselves, Naruto protested, but there wasn't any real heat to it. Yugao moved in front of him, and poked her fingers into his shoulder, right next to the hole caused by Shino's kunai. Naruto hissed. Really? 'Cause from where I'm standing, you got the S kicked out of you and I bet a genin could drop all three of you without breaking a sweat. So why don't you let me and my student escort you back, keep your complaints to yourself, buy me a drink when we get back to Konoha, and I won't make you hallucinate for a week. Deal. Fine, Naruto hissed through gritted teeth. Great, I'm sure we're going to get along great. Yugao removed her fingers and flicked off the blood. Sakura, you can come out now. Sakura walked out of the tree, rummaging through her bag. Naruto, I think I have an extra blood pill here, and I know I have some bandages. Wait just a minute, and you can stop bleeding all over the forest. Thanks, Sakura, but it's really not necessary. Shut up, Naruto. Come on, we're only a few hours out. I'm not going to let you bleed a trail leading straight to us, and there's no way I'm going to be the one to carry your ass once you pass out from blood loss. Troublesome woman. Shut up, Shikamaru. Shino wisely stayed silent. 12 hours later, the walls of Konoha came into view. The group paused for just a moment, drinking in the sight. Even Yugao, after more than a decade and a half of missions, loved the sight of village coming into view. Once they passed through the gate checkpoint, they made haste for the Hokage's tower, to report their completed missions. After being checked through by the on-duty Chunin guards, they were finally at the Hokage's office. Hey, Yugao-san, why are you giving your report directly to the Hokage? Shikamaru probed. The report desk is downstairs. Same reason you're giving your report to him. Something unusual happened on the mission. Something we can't talk about without telling the Hokage first. Azuki-san, you may go in, the secretary said. Nara-san, the Hokage will your team in a moment. Come on Sakura, we've got to stop by the bounty office, then you can be excused for the rest of the day. Yes, Yugao Shushu. Nara-san, the Hokage will see your team now. The Sandaime Hokage sat at his desk, hands steepled. I understand there were some complications on your mission. Explain. The mission itself went well, Hokage-sama. We ran across more guards than were reported, but we were able to get out without raising any alarms. The complications came about on our return to Konoha. After we stopped and set up camp, we were attacked. You were tracked during your escape. Sarutobi asked pointedly. No, we were attacked by someone unrelated to the mission, Shikamaru explained. It was a kitsune, Naruto said quietly. A rogue who had left the clan years ago. I don't know how long ago, but he's been gone a while. Why did he attack you? He wanted to, and he could. He didn't really seem to have any other reason. He really didn't like me, and could tell I was a half-demon even before I did anything. I'm not sure how he did that, my concealment techniques are supposed to be the best. It's because you're using kitsune techniques to hide yourself. Of course another kitsune, especially one so much more experienced, was able to see through them. Moron. Who asked you? Where did this confrontation take place? Shikamaru thought for a moment. 2 hours north from our target's mansion. It was on our side of border, but I'm not sure by how far. Sarutobi nodded and closed his eyes. After he opened them, he spoke. Your team will be paid for an A rank in addition to the B rank you were assigned. We had just received a mission to K whoever it was massacring caravans going through that area. As it was a demon, the mission is automatically A rank. Get to the hospital and have them fix your wounds. Report back for your next mission in 4 days. Naruto, if you would stay for a moment longer. Shino and Shikamaru bowed before exiting quickly. Naruto, Suna has finally finished their arrangements, and Temari will arrive tomorrow. You will be married the day after that. I will see you then. That will be all. Naruto quietly exited, dumbfounded. Hey guys, he muttered to Shino and Shikamaru. Let's go. You're not yourself. What did the Hokage say? Shino asked. I'm getting married the day after tomorrow, Naruto said absently. Once the medics had healed all but the most minor of their wounds, Naruto led Shino and Shikamaru to one of the training grounds close to his house. Hey, give me a second guys, then you can go home and sleep for as long as you want. Naruto bit his thumb and flipped through 5 hand seals that were now second nature to him. Kuchio's no jutsu. What do you require, Naruto-sama? Daki asked, his armored head bowed. Well, Shino and Shikamaru are going to sign their contracts, and I figured you'd want to be here. When I signed the Toad contract, there was a Toad there. I thought that you'd want to be here to represent the clan, or something like that. There is a representative here, Naruto-sama. You. No, I meant someone who would be summoned, you know, someone like you. I understand. However, you're an acceptable witness. You are part of the clan, and could be summoned under the correct circumstances. What do you mean? Provided you allowed someone the full Kitsune contract, they could conceivably summon you. I believe the reason you didn't know before was that no one else had the contract. You cannot summon yourself, and neither of these two will be able to summon you, as their contracts only extend as far as my troops. Oh, okay. Wait, people can summon me. Daki sighed, a bizarre expression for an enormous fox. No, the only one with the full summoning contract is you, Naruto-sama. And you can't summon yourself. So unless you allow someone to sign the full contract, you won't have to worry about it. Forget I ever mentioned it. You look tired. No, I just found out I'm going to be getting married the day after tomorrow. Daki's eyes immediately widened. You are to be wed? He asked, not bothering to hide his interest. Yeah, it's a political thing. She's the daughter of the former Kazekage and the sister of the next. Daki nodded, approving. If I may be so bold, who have you selected to be your clan's representative? Didn't you just say I could be the clan representative myself? Naruto asked, his face scrunched up in confusion. Yes, regarding most things, especially the minor details. Shikamaru frowned at being referred to as a minor detail. Daki continued. However, this is hardly minor. This is your wedding, your first, to the best of my knowledge. Given enough prior notice, the entire Council of 8 would attend. The Council of 8. Who are they? Daki looked at Shino and Shikamaru warily. Perhaps this would be better discussed later, in private. Naruto got the not-so-subtle hint. I guess we can talk about it later. Well, since we're here, we better do this. As Shino and Shikamaru took out the contracts, Kyuubi spoke up from the recesses of Naruto's mind. The Council of 8 are the most powerful kitsune in the clan, other than myself. They have lived for thousands of years, and are spread out across the planet. They are in charge of the majority of the day-to-day decisions regarding where they are. And before you ask, the 8 refers to the number of tails they each have, not how many members there are. That's about 23 or so. Cool. And do not ask about the clan where others can hear again. The clan is private, and I want to keep it that way. That said, Daki is one of the better advisors you could find. He has been around quite some time, and knows a great deal that would be of advantage to you. Wait a second, Daki only has 3 tails. If he's been around so long, why doesn't he have more tails? The number of tails does not tell how old one is, but how much power one has. Some are nearly as ancient as I, but have only 1 or 2 tails. Others are young, but have a great deal of raw power. Cheromaru is one such example. He's only around 50 years or so, and already has 4 tails. And he has a great deal more potential for growth. Likely he will end up with 6 or 7 tails. His development has been impressive. More impressive than yours, in any case. What the hell are you talking about? I'm plenty strong. In your mind, perhaps. But with my power sealed within you, you should have been able to crush Kurizu without a second thought. That you were not is an embarrassment. I will have to start training you in the use of Yuki. You have obviously not been working on any development on your own. Well, what do you expect? It's not like I've had any instruction. Or time. I don't care for excuses. I expect improvement. Hey, Naruto, wake up, Shikamaru snapped, an annoyed look on his face. You're spacing out on us. We'll see you tomorrow or the next day. Shino nodded, still vaguely amused at the fact that Naruto had gotten trapped in a marriage to someone he didn't know. Yeah, I'll see you later. I let you guys know when to show up. They nodded and walked off, too tired to bother traveling by roof. Naruto turned around to see Daki still standing there. Will there be anything else, Naruto-sama? Yeah, actually. Fuzzy said you'd probably be a good guy to have around. You want to be the representative for when I get married. Daki's eyes widened noticeably. Kyubi-sama said that. It is an honor. Of course, summon me for whatever you need. Naruto nodded and Daki disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto tossed his coat on the hanger by the door and was immediately tackled to the floor. My little Naru-chan. Getting married, Anko slurred as she held Naruto's face between her BS. Anko, can't breathe. You're all grown up and king people, getting married, I don't want you to go. Anko, I'm not going anywhere. This is my house. You're kicking me out. Anko looked ready to cry. I thought you loved me, you were such a good kid, why are you making me leave? Naruto tried to wiggle out of Anko's GS, but she tightened her hold around his waist. Damn it Anko, I'm not making you leave, but if you don't let go right now, I'm going to punch you in the face. He cried. Anko snuggled in and started to snore. Naruto groaned and slammed his fist into Anko's face 3 times before she loosened up enough for him to escape her hold. Naruto fixed a glare on Ibiki, who was standing in the doorway, smirking. You think that was funny? Yes, bastard. It's my job, and you enjoy it entirely too much. I've heard people say that, but I just don't know what they're talking about. Naruto shook his head and changed the subject. How long has she been drinking? Since Hokage-sama told us that you would be getting married in 2 days. She hit her mission limit just after you left, so unless Konoha is attacked, she doesn't have to worry about being hungover in the mission office. But we get to have fun with a drunk Anko for the next 2 weeks. Great. You know the policy, Naruto. Any ninja who completes 10B or higher ranked missions back to back has to take a mandatory leave to prevent burnout. Everyone follows it, even Anko with her aversion to rules. She doesn't usually drink like this though. Normally she trains with me whenever she hits the mission limit. Naruto frowned. Though I guess I haven't been around as much since I made Chunin. The frown deepened. I haven't been able to see much of anyone since I made Chunin. Ibiki walked over and ruffled Naruto's hair before shoving him deeper into the house. Yeah, well that happens when you get promoted. Not to mention that everyone is working double since the invasion. I guess so. Whatever Naruto was going to say next was cut off as he was sent stumbling back against the wall, propelled by a jet of pressurized water. Damn, runt, what's up with you? Normally you dodge that and try to beat the crap out of me. Real mission's taking it out of you. Zabuza laughed, his hands still twisted into the final seal of the water jutsu he had used. What was that for? Naruto sputtered, wiping the water off his face as best he could. Zabuza shrugged. Why not? It's not as if you haven't done something to deserve it, even if I don't know what it is at the moment. Look, I just got back from a finicky mission, one that turned to complete S on our way back, and when I get back, I find out that I'm supposed to get married 2 days from now. So right now, I'm going to go to my room and sleep for the next 48 hours. If you wake me up, I'll practice Anko's castration techniques on you. Naruto drew himself up and walked down the hall, squishing with each step. Zabuza smirked and did his water jutsu again, sending Naruto crashing head over heels into the far wall. The soggy Jinchuriki lobbed a kunai at Zabuza, who easily plucked it out of the air as Naruto turned the corner. The 2 sadistic ninjas stood in the hall for a moment, before Ibiki spoke up. You're cleaning this up. Temari walked through the village, a Chunin assigned to guide her to her new husband's house chatting inanely by her side. She knew she didn't have a choice. She was the most logical option to be used in the treaty. She was a Kazekage's daughter, and the next Kazekage's sister. She had several years' experience as a ninja, and was a new Chunin. It was clear that Konoha would want to add her to their ranks. Temari was just glad Gaara had been able to convince the council to make sure she hadn't ended up with some aged bastard who would treat her like filth. Apparently Gaara had gotten her married to Uzumaki Naruto, the kid who had saved her brother from himself. If not for him, Gaara would probably still be attacking anyone who was nearby anytime it struck his whim. Gaara would still be the monster feared by an entire ninja village. Needless to say, she owed Naruto Her whole family did, even if her family was only Gaara and Kankuro. So she would comply, even if she wanted to do no such thing. Besides, her only other option was to go missing Nin, and that was nearly impossible. The only people who ever went missing from Suna were the best. Any others who tried to abandon the village were hunted down before they made it out of the unforgiving desert. The Chunin pointed her down a dirt road and hopped away. Moments later, Temari felt a pinprick at the base of her and her body locked up, completely immobile. An attractive girl with a thin build and long black hair landed in front of her. She stared at Temari for a long while, saying nothing, just studying her with a chilly expression on her face. Naruto-kun is one of the best people on this continent. He is kind, caring, and goes out of his way to make sure the people he considers precious are never unhappy. Feel grateful that you are being allowed into his life, especially in such a manner. Remember that instead of a bloated and disgusting merchant who would treat you as nothing more than a slave for the rest of your existence, you are going to marry someone who will value you forever, despite your home village's actions against us. Haku moved her hand sharply, passing it in front of Temari's face, and the air temperature dropped dramatically as the sweat on her face turned to frost. And while I do not enjoy hurting people, if you ever do anything adverse to Naruto-kun, know that I will freeze the blood in your veins, and shatter your bones. Haku leapt for the trees, smoothly removing the needle she had espered into Temari's en as she moved over the girl's shoulder and pushing her face first to the ground in one motion. The cold air left with the beautiful girl, but the ice crystals on Temari's face stayed, a reminder. Moments after Haku disappeared, Temari felt her limbs come under her control once more, and she pushed herself off the ground, wiping her face. After brushing the dirt off her front, Temari continued along the path, her face red and lips twisted into a scowl. Naruto hated Jiraiya. The old man hadn't left him alone since he had a summoned toad drag Naruto out of his comfortable bed. For his bachelor party, the Sannin had said. Tradition, he had said. Yeah, right. The old pervert just wanted a reason to look at women and drink sake. It didn't help matters that Jiraiya wasn't alone. Ibiki, Zabuza, Iruka, Kakashi, Shino, Shikamaru, and Chuji had apparently been invited as well, and only Chuji seemed to be inclined to help Naruto at all. Ibiki had said it was a rite of passage, and poured a shot of alcohol down Naruto's tea. A responsible parent, Ibiki was not. Zabuza told Naruto to loosen up and forced a bottle of sake into Naruto's hands. Kakashi hadn't been any help, but considering the Stiespers on stage, even Naruto would say they were attractive, even if they were too old for him. Naruto hadn't expected much from the masked pervert. Even Iruka was transfixed by the women. While not as perverted as Kakashi or Jiraiya, Iruka was a grown man and subject to temptations of the F like any other. He at least told Naruto to try and enjoy himself, even if he didn't exactly want to be there. Shino was even less help than Kakashi, surprisingly. He hadn't spoken or moved since sitting down. He just seemed to vibrate and buzz lowly, and Naruto couldn't get a word out of him, even after 5 minutes of pestering. Shikamaru was resting his chin on his arms, folded across the table. He had positioned the straw so he could drink whatever it was he had. It wasn't alcoholic, but other than that, Naruto didn't have a clue, without having to move. Naruto had bugged him to try and help him escape, but the lazy boy lifted his head just enough to look Naruto in the eyes. Naruto, the lazy boy said, stop being so troublesome. You're being thrown a party. We're trying to make sure you have a good time despite that tomorrow you're getting married to a girl you've only talked to once or twice. So sit down, shut up, get drunk, and look at the girls. And before you try to say that it's perverted, it's the job. We K people, they take their clothes off. Naruto sat back after that, frowning, arms crossed over his chest. A minute later, he signaled for one of the scantily clad waitresses. Ero Sennin had dragged him off before he had gotten anything to eat, and he was starving. Even if they didn't serve food usually, they would if he tipped enough. Temari shoved against the door a few more times, rattling the lock noisily. There's not much point in trying that, Naruto said from the chair by the bed in his room. Ero Sennin's probably already sealed us in. And there's no way we're getting out until he releases it, if that's the case. We're stuck here for the night, at least. Well, you don't have to sound so happy about it, Naruto GSED. It's not like newlyweds spending a wedding night together is something normal or anything. Temari wheeled around to glare at Naruto. Look, we may be married now, but I am not going to sleep with you. We are a political match, nothing else. Besides, you don't really do anything for me. You're too young for me. Naruto scowled. Hey, we're only 3 years apart. That's not that much. Maybe not in a couple years, but right now it is. Besides, this is a political marriage. We're not based on compatibility or whether we like each other or not, it's purely for show. So, what? You don't even like me at all? Temari sighed. Look, I owe you one. You helped Gaara, and he's really changed. I don't think anyone else could have done that. And you'll probably be pretty cute, in a couple years, but like I said, it's a political marriage. You'll have your affairs, and I'll have mine. That's standard for couplings like ours. What? That's that. We can't even be friends or anything. I never said that. Stop putting words in my mouth. Besides, you've probably already got your eye on someone. What do you want me for? Well, there's Haku-chan. See, if you've already got someone, quit coming after me. Greedy pervert. I am not a pervert. Naruto shouted. He was still somewhat guilty over the bachelor party. There was a bit of an awkward silence before Temari changed the subject. Who was the guy in the samurai armor? I remember most of the others from the exams, but I thought most samurai were under command of the fire daimyo. I don't know about that, I never paid attention in the academy. I guess, but he wasn't a samurai. Or maybe he is, I don't really know, we never really talked about that. I'm probably going to be talking to him more soon, so I can find out for you if you want. But he's not human. He's a kitsune. Naruto figured that if they were going to be married, she deserved some truth, considering she already knew some parts already. Really? Naruto nodded and decided to give Temari a partial truth. Yeah. See, me and the Kyuubi are a lot closer than most Jinchuriki are. It's probably because of the seal. Most Jinchuriki have the demon bound with a human S. The Kyuubi was bound with a human S and backed by the power of the Shinigami. Instead of being released when the Kyuubi will go on to the afterlife with me. At least, that's the theory. Nobody's sure, because I'm still alive. And because of something that happened when I was younger, I get along with Kyuubi pretty well. He even gave me the Kitsune summoning contract, to help keep me from since he doesn't want to end up in the afterlife. So he's a summon. Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy, too. Say, do you have any summoning contracts? Temari hesitated. Sharing secrets like this wasn't done by anyone, not in the ninja world. Of course, Naruto didn't seem to be a regular ninja at all, he was just giving away information that dedicated spies would spend their entire careers trying to get a hold of. Even a tiny bit of information about the Kyuubi would be invaluable to any hidden village with a grudge against Konoha. It was one of the main reasons people feared fighting Jinchuriki. Even without counting their incredible strength, they risked releasing the demon if something went wrong with the seal, or if it wasn't designed to contain the demon for a time after the death of the Jinchuriki. Temari came to a decision. If Naruto was going to be so open, so could she. Besides, he had helped make Gaara safer without even knowing him. Maybe he was just a genuinely nice guy. Yes, but it's only a minor contract, I can only summon a few weasels total, and only one of those reliably. Why's that? Naruto asked, his brows furrowed. Because I don't have enough chakra, Temari said slowly. There's 2 or 3 on my contract that I've never summoned at all, because I simply can't. Summoning is a Junin level skill for a reason. I shouldn't even have the contract I do. It's only because of who my father was that I got even the minor contract. Oh, well that's cool. Wait, Temari interrupted before Naruto could get his next thought out. If you can really call on the high-end summons, why don't you just bring one out to break down the wall or something, so we aren't stuck in here all night? Naruto shook his head. Well, first off, I could take down that wall on my own, if I wanted to. You probably wouldn't have any trouble either. It's not that thick or anything. But this is my house, and this is my room, and I don't feel like destroying it. Especially since I'd be the one who has to clean it up, and pay for repairs. Second, I don't know how your summons work, but I know that anyone big enough to take down that wall really wouldn't be happy with me calling them just to break down a wall. Well, I know the toads would be upset. Everybody from the Fox contract just seems really eager to do whatever I say. Thirdly, Temari waved her hands wildly in front of Naruto's face. Hold on a second. Are you telling me you have 2 summoning contracts? Full ones? Naruto shrugged. Yeah, I guess so. I didn't even know you could only have partial contracts until you said something. I had already signed the one, and Jiraiya said there was no way his apprentice wasn't going to be able to summon toads. Of course, I just think he didn't want to piss off Gamabunta, but I don't think anyone would. He'll sit on you if you don't watch what you say to him. And he's huge. As they talked deep into the night, staying with the mostly safe topics of ninja techniques and hobbies, Temari reflected that Uzumaki Naruto had absolutely no concept of secrecy or need to know basis. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.